Well folks, rain, fog, wind and cold here on a bleak mountainside on the borders of County Tipperary and County Waterford. So we're going to go as far as we can today. I was up here a few weeks ago and it was a nice day. I didn't do much recording, but I did record. But today is atmospheric. It's mucky underfoot. It's very wet, breezy, and 4 degrees. So we'll see how the body accepts and puts up with these conditions, okay? It's a horrendously wet day now, wet morning. It's only about 08:10 a.m. and I'm surprised actually with the amount of dense cover, fog and mist that's over the landscape that it's as bright as it is. But I'm never deterred by weather. So we continue on our merry way, onwards and no doubt upwards, in the rain, in the fog, with many sheep to keep me company. The terrain is pretty rough here now. Quite rough. And the fog is closed in even more. So we just need to be awfully careful today. As I say, I have been here about 3 weeks ago, a lot further than I am right now. And as the rain gets heavier and the equipment gets wet, it's the height of madness. But it's a nice madness, like I said to you the other day. Since I spoke to you last, there's been a dramatic shift in the, pardon the pun, a dramatic shift in the fog and the mist. It's been belted along by a fair gale, and it gives you the impression it's on a clearing, but the sky is full of water up there, and I'm surrounded by low-lying fog, mist, and driving bloody rain. But not to worry. Just to try and eloquently give you a description, when you get out of your vehicle to climb up here, for the first 45 minutes you're walking on terrain that's chronically rough, a disturbed surface, loose rocks and boulders, and it's climb, and I'm still climbing. There was a musical, well, there are many musicals, but there was one particular musical, I don't know, was it The Sound of Music? And they said the hills in it, or in whichever one I'm trying to remember and I can't, there was a piece of music called "The Hills Are Alive with the Sound of Music." The hills are alive here this morning with the sound of howling wind and driving rain. But we continue to climb. Still climbing and watching my footing underneath me. Now, as you can probably see from the video, I'm absolutely and totally enveloped by a driving, low-lying fog, driven on at 100 miles an hour by a stiff wind, a howling wind. But it has a benefit. It's cooling me down, because just coming up down there for the past 45 minutes is a bone shaker. Literally a bone shaker. The problem is, once I get to my destination, I'm probably going to have to traverse back down here. So, however bad it was coming up, it's going to be lethal on my way descending to my car. It's terrible now, it's really bad, but we're going to go further. The wind velocity has picked up and actually increased quite a bit. So I now need to be a little bit more vigilant as regards being blown over. Just standing down there a few moments ago, it's been the first walk for a long time that I've seen absolutely no litter whatsoever. Plastic, cartons, cigarette boxes, bottles, none. Why? Why do you all think that is? Really? I'll tell you. This climb, trek, whatever you want to call it, is only for the dedicated, willing, committed, able-bodied, serious people. You don't get the geek mentality coming up here. It would be too difficult for the little Johnnies. And these are the culprits. These are the people that litter most of the beautiful countryside on the Emerald Isle. But this is beyond their ability. They have to spend too much time away from the phone and concentrate on the climb. So as a result of that, I'm delighted that this is as difficult as it is, and that only people that are confident, that are able, that are careful, and that are committed to come out in places like these and bring their garbage home with them and not discard it right throughout the countryside. Well folks, I've arrived here and I'm on top of the Sugarloaf here in the Knockmealdown Downs. The wind and the rain is incredible now. The wind is just horrendous. I'm denied a view from the top of the Sugarloaf for the moment, but I've taken refuge here behind the cairn of stones on the Sugarloaf, and I'll park my weary body here for a while, 10 or 15 minutes, and see will the fog and the mist and the rain dissipate so that I can continue on to Knockmealdown. The Sugarloaf, 663 meters. Well now folks, I'm going to have to raise the dB gain here so that you can hear me. The volume. It is now the height of madness. Take a look at this. It is just absolutely bloody crazy. It's not a wind anymore, it's a storm. A storm. decided on departing the Sugarloaf, I've decided to make my way across the Knockmealdown. I set my destination at the Sugarloaf because I knew the weather wasn't going to be good, but I don't give in to weather much. In fact, I don't give in to weather at all. So I'm making my way across the ridge now. I've good gear on, so it's just miserable, absolutely miserable. But I'm conscious of the equipment getting wet. But I guess if I were to tell somebody that the weather up here was atrocious today, and I didn't have proof to show, you wouldn't believe me. The bad weather continues to harass me, but not enough harassment to give up on the expedition. I'm midways across from the Sugarloaf to the Knockmealdown peak. It's hard going here now, but when you take on something, when I take on something rather, I never give up on it's finished. And I just need to be careful of where I'm putting my foot, because the rocks are quite slippy now. When you fall here, you could do a little bit of damage to some part of your anatomy. And where I am right now, I don't need that to happen in these conditions and in this geographical location. Even the sheep are taking shelter behind great big boulders and a stone wall. Oops. In spite of the horrendous conditions and rather difficult terrain, I'm really and truly enjoying this trek this morning. It's still very early. Unfortunately, I can't show you any views because the views are completely obscured by the pea soup that's buckling around the place. The pea soup, the fog. But I'm really enjoying it. But I'm being that little bit extra careful this morning because when you walk along some of these great rocks, they're loose and they're also quite slippy. So I don't want to have an issue with my body whilst I'm out on this mad morning high altitude walk. The rain is torrential and the wind is brutal and it's quite cold. But I've reached the summit of the Knockmealdowns. It's a hard, very hard, exceptionally difficult slog today with the weather conditions. But I'm here. As you can see behind me, the monument on the top of the Knockmealdowns. In spite of the wind and the rain and the cold, and the underfoot conditions are absolutely dire, diabolically difficult, but here I am. At 794 meters above sea level. Wet, miserable, but exhilarated, excited, and holding on to a massive sense of achievement. A sort of a non-quitter achievement. This would be the worst possible day weather-wise to come to a mountain like this. 794 meters. So I'm quite chuffed and I'm very proud of myself. And so I should be. So, well done, Jim. So, goes to prove what I've been saying to you for a long time. Weather, terrain conditions. It doesn't bother me. I get wet, I'm not wet, but the outer garments are pretty wet. But at the summit of the Knockmealdown Mountains at 794 meters, Jim Orrs conquered the peaks today. Unfortunately, I can't show you any panoramic views today from the summit of the Knockmealdown Mountains, courtesy of the horrendous weather, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. But I'm on my retreat, or rather I'm retreating now from the high peaks. But it's pretty miserable now. So this walk will go down in the annals of my memory banks of being the worst day walking of all time weather-wise. Other than that, I'm enjoying it. Just as I walk along here on my way back to the car, which is a good bit away, I'm just thinking, I mean, it's a good walk, it's a very manageable walk, the terrain underfoot is horrendous, but you're on the side of a wild mountain. You get a great sense of achievement, a sort of a no-quitter element in your life presents and shines through, and that's not said in a boasting way. I don't give up anyway. I do not give up, and I have no intentions of giving up, but I'm awfully conscious all the time of the safety aspect of walking long distance in tortuous terrain. Now I have to get from the Sugarloaf down to the car, and it's downhill, and it's a horrendous track, so I have to be extra vigilant when I get over there. I have a bit to go yet, but it's been an adventure. It's been an adventure, all right. I didn't think actually the weather would turn into what it did turn into, but I knew it was going to be wet and a bit windy, but not gale force winds and driving rain and high density fog. I had all the ingredients today of madness. Whoops. Going over here to find an easier way to get my ass off this hill. Anyway, there we go. Now I'm walking on peat boggy soil, which when you step on it you're sinking down into the floor. That if you fall here it's not too bad. You'll just be very peaty, boggy. My good wife won't be too happy with the state of me. However, all in a day's walking in the great outdoors, folks, in the great outdoors. So one day in the summer months, if you're up for it and you feel inclined that you want to punish the body, and this particular track will punish you greatly if the weather is bad. So you'll give the cobweb system a good shake out. Today's trek has been made difficult with the weather conditions. It's a slower momentum because I'm watching where I put my feet. But it's not an easy trek, but it's not an impossible one. But you just have to be careful when you got weather like this. Well folks, I've arrived here at the Sugarloaf. The wind has picked up again and the rain has returned. So I've been from the Sugarloaf across to the Knockmealdown Peak. That's pretty hard going across there in those kind of conditions, weather and underfoot. So now I'll make my descent to the car. So I'll take my time going down here because this is a pretty violent descent with rocks and boulders and channels and bog and so forth. So from the Sugarloaf, I bid you farewell for the moment. And the wind is howling at the back of my skull, and I'm trying to hold the technology in place. So I hope you can hear me. It's been a day I won't forget, a trek that I won't forget. Going down now is worse than it was when it's coming up. So I'm facing into this storm, wind and rain, loose boulders, rocks, and all kinds of things. All the ingredients to do an ankle, and I don't want to do an ankle here. I've come down to a good level, but the wind is still howling, and I can see a glimmer of the car park through the drifting fog. My left to my right. It's a horrendous day now. It's actually worse out than it was up at the top. Well, coming down there off the slopes from the Sugarloaf, it was lethal. There's no other way you could describe lethal. My bottom touched earth about 4 times, then touched rock 100 times. Now I've come out of the clouds, down out of the skies, and I can see once more Bay Lough. Bay Lough. Well, I'm below the fog level now and the cloud level after that last 45 minutes of a helter-skelter sitting in my bum descending from the mountains here on the Knockmealdown Downs. I'm still a bit away, 30 minutes to the car, but you can see Bay Lough right over there in the valley. But there's very unusual, surreal cloud formations here now on the hill opposite me. And I'm here, I have a grandstand view of the lot. Very atmospheric. Remember that word? Atmospheric. After the morning that I've had on the Knockmealdown Downs, atmospheric brings a new meaning to one's life. I'm going to continue on my way, downwards and onwards. I have about 25 minutes to my car. The rain is returning. The cloud is descending from the peaks from afar once again, but I can still see Bay Lough. But this has been, how could I classify this morning's trek? on the high peaks. A wet one, an enjoyable one. Weather is just weather. It passes. We didn't fall, took great care. I love the hike. I love being out in the wild and the great outdoors. It's what I do. Keep the body moving. That's what it's all about. I had the Knockmealdown Mountains to myself today. My God, it's murder. Murder on the dance floor was the song. Murder on the mountains here. Now I must make my way over a stone wall. Or perhaps I might be able to walk down on this side of it. Now, if it had been a dry day, I'd have shown you some. The golden orb has been switched on for the last 15 minutes of my walk. Thank you. But if it had been a day like this, without the wind and the rain, the scenery, the vistas from the top of the Knockmealdown Downs is just stunning. So perhaps another day, maybe towards the end of summer into autumn, I might make another trek to the top of the Knockmealdown Downs. As I said to you earlier, when I was up at the summit of the Knockmealdown Downs, there's a great sense of achievement when you've put yourself through the effort to get up there and get back successfully and without hassle or injury. And there's even a bigger sense of achievement in oneself when you tackle it in the conditions that I tackled it in today. Because today was, my goodness, today was a day that I won't forget in walking for a long time. But I survived it and I enjoyed it. A bit damp, but damp won't kill me. Now, since the sun began to shine and the rain has stopped, everything will dry out with the wind in quick succession. I'm still making my way down off the hills, but now I can see the car park a way off, as in down there. It's a typical Irish day. You spend all your time in the wet and the wind walking, and when you finish, out comes the sun. But I'm not complaining. Well, that's it, folks. That's my trek this morning from darkness to now. Been a hard one, wet one, windy one.